Well, and I've been even doing a little, like, loving my home, you know, I created a home that I love, and so when I'm feeling agitated by something, I'll just go, wow, look what I created, and I love this place.
Again, that's the part that doesn't matter, the object. So if at first you pick easy things, great. And then that builds that momentum where you can actually just discover that it really doesn't matter what the object is.
But then, I, the rub. So I'm alone, right? I don't have a partner.
Right.
And there's so much expectation.
So right now, I don't know if you can just sense, even as you were just saying this, right? Can you sense the love you have for this story? Right? And the love you have for your expectations. Right? So that's all that has happened in that moment, is that the story and the expectations are now the object of your love. Because if you're alone, does that mean there's no tables? Does that mean there's no house? Does that mean there's no... See, this love, you don't even have... The person that you love doesn't even have to be present.
Easier when that person isn't present.
Probably is. Exactly. So, but like I say, that's fine, you know, that's possible, but what happens when all of a sudden instead, like I said, I don't know if you could, right now if you can remember, like when you started telling me about it, I was like, yeah, but...
Agony.
Yeah, but this, you know, like that, it's like, oh, you just really want to experience this story.
And it is a story.
Yes.
And I noticed that the story doesn't come from in me. The story comes from
it's just like
the expectations of,
right.
If you're alone, something's wrong. You know,
right.
you're
just
not enough of this or this or this, because if you were, you'd be with somebody. And then when I go deeper, it's like, I don't want to be with anybody. It's very simple to be alone. You know, to not be dependent.
And there's even like a simpler place where it just doesn't matter. Alone, or in a crowd, or in a committed relationship, or, you know, it's like they're all different, but it doesn't really matter to this capacity to love. So, you know, it's like I said, and then even if that story comes up, oh, you just love it. It's cute.
Cute little story.
Yeah, it's cute. The mind is incredibly cute, incredibly creative, incredibly convincing. You know, it's like it's like this little IMAX movie playing in your head all the time. It's like, wow. You can just love that. See, what isn't necessary is to pick what to love. You just always, whatever shows up, you love that too.
So it's just being love. It's just being love. Not even being love in the moment, because then that makes a time and a space, but it's just being just love. Is. Just not even being love, it's just love.
Yes.
It's just love. And I am a very mind-driven, analytical, obsessive-compulsive, but when I stop, just stop, and beyond all that, it's like, oh, I can just rest in that nothing.
Like I said, it doesn't have to be either or. You can also love your mind.
Well, it's very useful.
Yeah. It's a funny thing when you're loving it. See, when you're totally, in a sense, identified with it, it's not so useful, right? Because you have a tendency to follow every thought.
Well, if I believe it,
right.
It's not useful.
Right. And if you somehow trained yourself to completely ignore it, right, or to shut it up completely, right, it's like you just left out a very useful part of life. It's when you love it, right? When you really, again, give it so much attention that you actually see which of the thoughts are true and which aren't. You start to like really discriminate. Oh yeah, that's just one of those tapes, like you said, you know, one of those things that you just have heard or you just repeat inside your own head because you've been taught it so many times, told it so many times. Like that idea that you need someone or there's something wrong, you know. It's like that's like, that message is in all kinds of, you know, it's in all the media, it's in everything.
Yeah.
So it's
Walk
like
out the door and that's what's there.
Right. So if you really love your thoughts, you actually can tell which ones are true and which ones are actually relevant, and which ones are just that, just thoughts. So no need to, you know, hold the love back, hold the attention back. It's more like you flood it with attention so that you actually see what's the nature of the mind.
And then there's this place of flooding, you know, like okay, so you're out in the world and you're doing your grocery shopping or you're doing whatever you do. And then because part of what I do is I don't have, you know, I live alone most of the time except when the 14-year-old brat comes every other week. And then, and I love the brat, really, truly.
Yes.
But she's just doing her job at
She's
14.
just 14, right?
And so then when I go out in the world, sometimes I just have this like big open heart and I love, you know, everybody everywhere.
Yes.
And that's okay. I mean, it feels good for me, but then there's this voice, this thought that goes, this is so inappropriate, you know, almost like, to me, it's almost like if I would just strip naked and walk, you know, in public, that's not okay. And so sometimes when I'm being this open, loving, chatting and, you know, just having contact,
Right.
there is that same little voice that goes, this is not appropriate. This is not how to be out in the world.
So remember
they're going to put you away.
So like I said, right now, just for a moment, just really, really give a lot of attention to that voice. Just really look it right in the eye. Right? Look that whole message, right? Just look at it directly and see what's true about it. Is that actually, I mean, this is a funny way of asking it, but is that actually a grown-up voice? Like, is that no.
No.
It's like just some little, like...
It's a very protective voice,
Yes.
actually. It's a very parental, protective,
Right.
almost like what came up is there was me and 3 sisters, and the teaching was, you know, they'll take advantage of you.
Right.
As
So
little girls going out in the world and loving.
So when you're sending a little girl out in the world, that's what you tell her. Right? But when you're sending an adult out in the world, does it make sense to tell her what you would tell a little girl?
No.
No. Right? So rather than like try to get rid of that voice, just really get to know it. What it's for, what its purpose was, what its, you know, when is it relevant?
Yeah, and it comes from, the voice comes from, it's dangerous.
Yeah, which it is for little girls. I mean, not as dangerous as we make it out to be. That's another effect of the media. You know, it makes it seem like this world is a terrible, terrible place. But it still is appropriate to tell little girls what things, you know, what things to be careful of. Turns out you don't have to really scare them to give them that information. But like I said, it's like the question is what's true about this voice now? And that you can't find out except by loving it, by going right there. It's like you can actually welcome it every time it comes now. Every time you're out there with your heart wide open, it's like, oh, you? Oh, hi, come on in. Yeah. It actually is just showing for some of that love.